With age comes wisdom, experience, and a whole lot of unexpected changes. Welcome to Dad Brain, where two best friends share their journeys through the ups and downs of their 30s. Get ready for the raw and honest realities of growing older. Here are your hosts, Matt K. and Matt L.
Welcome back to Dad Brain.
Hey, everybody.
My co-host over here, former t-shirt tycoon,
Oh, this whole thing?
purveyor of fine clothing, taking advantage of quarantine families, Matt L. What's going on this morning?
Taking advantage of quarantine families. Definitely
It's in the
not.
name.
You're referencing my small business, Quarantine Bleach Co. Unfortunately, we had to close up shop because sweatshirts don't sell too hot here in Florida. Yeah. Before you get your intro, I just want to say thank you for watching and listening to Dad Brain. If you haven't already, please follow us on all the platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're spreading content all throughout there, new clips and episode notifications. So I just want to get that out of the way. But now I got to talk about this guy sitting right next to me. He's really far away though. I can't even touch him. I can't even get his smell. But this man right here, Matthew K., has no alibi for where he was at on November 22nd, 1963. Do you?
I wasn't born.
Yeah, but you're always hanging around books, so there's a books
shut up.
depository around
Oh,
there.
don't.
What is your yeah.
Weak. Too soon. Still too soon.
Still too soon?
Still too soon.
All right, that guy sitting right next to me 1,000 miles away, featured on the March 1977 hit Easy Like Sunday Morning by the Commodores on the keyboards, Matt K.
I wish.
Do you know that song? You sent me
No.
a thing this week about Lionel Richie. You're like, people in our generation, they don't respect Lionel Richie.
I didn't say any of that. I said slept on because I'm just diving into this. And I've got a Lionel Richie vinyl record. Love throwing that on when nobody else is around. Just getting into myself.
You just like dancing on the ceiling
Exactly.
all night long. Yeah.
You got any more?
But you do know that before Lionel Richie was Lionel Richie, he was Lionel Richie of the Commodores, right?
Yes, I do know that.
So like Easy Like Sunday Morning. That's
Which
where you're
is
supposed
fun,
to go.
because I don't sing.
No.
I don't karaoke either.
So you liked that intro better than the JFK assassination intro?
I think everybody would like that better than the JFK assassination.
They're
intro.
hearing both, everybody. Congratulations. Matt, what are we even talking about today?
Well, I think it's about time we get to the root of the pod, the birds and the bees.
The birds and the bees.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
so what the
how
hell
we
does
get
that
here,
mean?
right?
So we're going to talk about when our parents told us about sex. Let's be a little more specific. Let's zone the audience in on what we're talking about here this morning.
Well, it's dad brain, so we got to talk about getting to that dad brain,
Getting into that dad brain. Yeah.
Birds,
and
bees, and babies.
from the beginning of Dad Brain, we've been saying that the thesis is, you don't necessarily have to be a dad to experience Dad Brain. But I think it's time that we probably let this audience know by the time this is released, you're looking at two expectant fathers right here.
Yeah, so big reveal.
Big reveal.
We've known Matt L expecting a child, and
Very soon.
10 days after we release this, you
Possibly.
will be,
Yeah, if she's on
Possibly
schedule like
sooner.
an Amtrak train, then yeah.
yeah,
But these things tend to go a little haywire.
best laid plans, right?
Exactly.
But at this point, we can proudly say that Amanda and I are now expecting.
There it is. So when we're talking about the birds and the bees, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the journey to get us to here, being expectant fathers. We need a round of applause sound of a clip for Matthew K and Amanda over there. And it's really, when we first got married, right? Like, we understood that, like, this was part of the assignment, that we have to, we have to procreate. But I don't know about you, but like in my household, it wasn't really top of mind. Like, it was never the priority. And I don't know if other new dads empathize with that.
Well, for me, after getting married, meant that everything in the bedroom, we no longer had to try to not get pregnant.
When was the last time you and your wife used a condom?
I'm sure she doesn't remember either.
Yeah, deliberating, right? Yeah. You just, I don't know. I don't know if we think our pullout game was strong or just self-confidence, too much hubris. But yeah, we just always stared death right in the face.
No, I think at a certain point you stop worrying about if the pullout game don't work, You're all about busting nuts.
You're just
and
busting, yes.
And it no longer becomes a consequence to your actions. It becomes what you're going to do anyway. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Have some fun. But, look, we all took sex ed.
We did.
And to be fair, most everything we have is self-taught. A lot of hands-on training. And a series of trials and errors.
If you're listening to this, you got to go watch it on YouTube because he did the hand motion and it'll just sell the whole thing. The audience needs to know.
It gets even murkier when you try and start a family, right? They don't teach you that in sex ed. They teach you about not starting a family.
Just like DARE, right? DARE told us to avoid it at all costs, and sex ed made you really hungry for a delicious fruit when they brought it in front of the class. It's the difference.
That's why you eat a lot of bananas?
That's why my potassium is through the roof.
And we all try and do some studying. I'm sure there's some more accurate videos on Pornhub, but it's not really mainstream. So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say
I want to know.
Yeah, there are some accurate videos on Pornhub. What you're going to want to do is search JOI, Jack Off Instructor. I don't know who's got this job, but somebody does, and they're instructing. What are your thoughts?
I meant mainstream videos on how to make babies.
Oh. So you're saying they're using like the old 1970s burnt film showing the baby coming out. They really tried to take the sex out of it, right?
Well, no. As I'm sure you found out, just having sex isn't enough to have a baby.
Oh my goodness.
You can screw till the sun goes down and nothing will happen.
Honestly, if you look back on it, the show Teen Mom, right? You were so afraid of getting someone pregnant because they were teen moms. But now, we're over here aligning the moons to make sure that it's all lined up and the dates are correct in a specific time period.
Those kids must have been dumping loads left and right.
They had to have been. But, they got that 16-year-old youthful energy. So they're just, I don't want to use the rabbits thing, but, that's what it is.
Yeah. And you hit it on the head. Eventually, your time in this, you got to have your astrology sign right. Yep. You got to have the ovulation cycle timed out. And, there's no rest for the wicked. It's she's this is the best chance we have. Get on that bed. And you're like, I just got home from work, ate a burger. I'm I'm not doing shit.
For sure. And new dads, expectant dads, you need to hear this. Okay? She's not going to suck your dick. Okay? I just want to throw it out there. That's off the table.
Yeah, there's no foreplay.
There's no foreplay. It's like when you have to go donate sperm, or you're just trying to, or you get a hard on in an awkward place. You just have to be ready to perform. We're fucking Jackson Steele. That's not what we are. We've been shitty at sex our whole entire lives. And now it just becomes a routine.
How many people are Googling Jackson Steele right now?
Is that actually a porn star? Because that was just right off the top of my head.
I don't know if it's actually a porn star.
That's a great game to play. Hold on. That's a great game to play. Is it a porn star name or a WWE wrestler?
Oh, hit me with
Austin
like
Theory.
5.
Austin Theory.
Got to be a wrestler.
Peter Gabriel.
Porn star. Musician and
Dolph
porn star.
Ziggler.
Ooh. Maybe both at one point.
That's great. Okay, but there was a WWE sex tape. China had a WWE sex tape.
R.I.P.
So, both those worlds blending together there. That has
sure
been
there's been
another
plenty of sex
round
tapes.
of, is it a porn star or is it a WWE superstar? We'll play again next week.
But yeah, I mean, back to the matter at hand.
No.
And the worst part is if you don't perform,
You're
forget
not
about
in
it.
for a good
You're an
night.
asshole.
You're done.
You're impeding your wife's goal of starting a family at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. Just like for everything else in your life, new dads, this is another thing that you're bad at and you're horrible at, and I can't believe you would do that. That's what you're going to hear. That's going to be the line. They're going to think that you're doing this on purpose to avoid starting a family.
And forget jacking off. If she finds out you jerked
you
off,
so
you're
much,
fucking
man.
dead.
First off, yeah, you got to put new dads. You got to put the stinky sock underneath the bed. Okay? If your woman is pressuring you right now to start a family, like Matt said, you might as well just have a chastity underwear on with a lock and key, and she needs to unlock it. When she's ready to go, you got to be ready to go.
So you guys had your own struggles with pregnancy just like Amanda and I had. What were some of those?
The struggles were kind of what you were talking to a second ago, where it's just like when you're doing that on such a routine basis, you want results now, right? And every time you think you're like at the goal line gets moved ahead. Like, oh, babe, I had my period. And it would always be met with like a frown, right? And that's hard because you and your wife, you want the same thing because you love each other and this is a manifestation of your love, right? So you're both disappointed. And that wears off after about 3 days, and then you're back to planning for the future again. Like where it's like, all right, we got to start it back up. Let's try something different.
Yeah. And I think all of our listeners are in the same boat as we are, either have families or starting families.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're listening, you're just now going down that journey with your partner where you've decided you want to start a family. That's a big part of what this show is about, is
Absolutely.
literally the evolution from deciding you want to be a dad.
Yeah.
And that's something that, when you're married, both you and your wife have to make that decision independently. You both have to be ready to do it. And it's super disappointing when it's not working. After you've made that leap, you're holding each other's hands, you're just jumping in the deep end, trying to get it going.
Yeah.
And that was what we noticed. It was taking longer than it should, and I know it's a numbers game, but the odds are in your favor.
And if you're in the position that Matt and I were in, you're an expectant father, you're trying there with your spouse, you need to do your part too. And you need to get your shit tested. Okay? You need to see where you're at with your boys. You may have all the confidence in the world with them, but until you have that data on a paper, like I learned so much about cum during this experience. I learned about viscosity. I learned about modality. And that's all I learned about. That's all the only two terms I can remember. But you're going to learn a lot about your jizz. So get excited
learned
about that.
That sperm has an hour from the time you put it in that cup to getting it to the testing facility before they won't test it.
1 hour?
Yeah, they were like, you have an hour before you nut. Or after you nut. And
Yeah.
all the rules, they're like, all right, you can't go more than 7 days without nutting before you test, but you have to go minimum 2 days. So again,
That's just a lot
jerk
of
off
calculus.
schedule was fucked.
Yeah, man, that's just a lot to deal with, like, in terms of, like, just thinking about all those numbers in your head. But like you said, it is a numbers game. So, like, just having a good number of at-bats, but also understanding, like, how many of the sperm you have. Like, it just is, it helps you make those decisions. And literally, in our journey, like, as soon as I got that test done, that's when we found out that my wife was pregnant. So obviously that's just a little bit about my journey. Like, what was your journey like? How long were you, like, actively trying?
I mean, we were trying probably 2 years, and then, you know, ever since we got married, we were not trying. You know what I mean? But I wish I had gotten tested really early on. It would have saved a lot of heartache, especially on my wife's side and a lot of, you know, her wondering, why isn't it working? Is she doing something wrong? And it creates a lot of stress, and stress is not a good environment when you're trying to get pregnant on either end, because it's hard, you know, as a guy to perform under all that stress. But then we also found out that I can't have kids, which started a whole different medical journey that ended up nowhere.
Yeah.
And had we known that, you know, 3 years prior, it would have saved a lot of anguish.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack here, right? Like, not to get too deep here, but that's what we do on the Dad Brain Pod. Like, what does that do to your psyche and, like, how your, like, confidence and just your overall well-being when you are told, like, you cannot do what you were put on this earth to do?
I mean, initially, it's a huge blow. And, you know, there's a lot of questions that float through your head about it. And there's a moment, for me, there was like a moment of depression, but I'm a pretty upbeat guy. So almost instantly, you know, I was just cracking jokes about it.
Really?
Like, man, if I had known this in college, you know, never would have had to put a rubber on. Amanda was not a fan of those jokes, but that's how I got through it. I had to overcome it with humor.
Laughter's the best medicine, right?
Yeah. You know, and then I tell all my other friends who are talking about getting snipped because they already have 1 or 2 kids. I'm like, how much that cost you? Guess what? I'll never have to pay for that.
Never have.
Nobody's ever got to take a knife to my nutsack.
Yeah. Is that what a vasectomy is?
Yeah. They cut like a tube in there that prevents, you know, swimmers from getting out.
But they actually cut your balls?
Well, they have to go in there. And then there's a tube that they snip.
Holy shit. Okay, well.
It's not that big a deal. I think most people get it done and are back to the work the next day.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something that, wow, now I'm terrified. Thank you. I guess I have nightmare fuel for the next little bit. Because I don't know if we're going to have another one. Yeah, we're kind of up in the air about it right now because we're ready for our daughter to be here.
Yeah.
And the reality is, Matt, by the time people hear this episode, my daughter could be here.
Yeah.
Right? I could be actively breastfeeding right now while the audience is hearing this.
Well, hopefully you're not breastfeeding. So, Matt, just so we can talk to the expectant fathers, or more really the fathers that have decided they want to become fathers. You almost went down the IUI journey with Amanda and I, with your wife.
Yeah.
What brought you to that cusp? Because your sperm are fine, right?
Yeah, my sperm were fine. We got blood tests. We did all the things and we had all the data. And I think what it came down to, Matt, is my wife and I were both impulsive, impatient people. Yeah. I got a smile from her. She's literally right here. So that's how we are. So like if we want something, we kind of want it now. And if it's not the thing that we want, then we don't want it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
So
like,
you were done.
We were frustrated, man. So
We
we
were
just
done trying to bat. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily saying we were going to give up, but like we didn't know what else to do.
So at what point in, every at bat you had not working, did you find out you didn't need to go down the IUI journey?
Well, Matt, I was in the worst place possible, not next to my wife. I was out of the state on business. So I was in Utah, and my wife, she was at the doctor getting a Toradol shot for her back, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't give you the shot because you pregnant."
That's so
Yeah.
she didn't know.
No.
Neither of you knew.
Nope.
Do you know how far along she was at that point?
How far along were you when you knew? Or when you went to the doctor? She was 4 weeks.
That's super early too.
That's super
to
early.
catch it.
Yeah.
And I know that because using IUI, you know basically the exact date of conception.
Yeah.
So you know that you have to wait 2 weeks to test
Okay.
from that date. And that 2 weeks is the absolute earliest, and most people don't know they're pregnant till like 8 weeks. I think 6 weeks is usually when people find out.
For all this IUI stuff you're talking about, like, were you actively like learning about it during your journey? Like, were you asking the questions in the doctor's office because you seem extremely knowledgeable about it. And I think a lot of expectant fathers, or those fathers that are trying to get pregnant, it helps to know what you're talking about, right? So you can go into those doctor's appointments and at least make your wife feel like you're invested and, just.
Well, the big part about that, Matt, is one, to make sure, even though it's my body that is preventing us from having children normally, it makes your wife feel very alone. And she's alone, or she thinks she's alone, because, right around this age, we see all of our friends getting pregnant who
that's hard.
A lot of them started trying well after we did. So there's a feeling of isolation that my wife had. Yeah. And with that comes despair. And the best way to work with that is to be there with her. So to be engaged in what all the lingo is. There's really two routes to go once you found there's an issue.
What are those routes?
You have IUI and IVF. And before this all started, I didn't know there was anything other than IVF, which is in vitro fertilization, where they grab an egg, they grab a sperm cell, put it together, and put it back in your wife. And at that point, you are considered pregnant until proven otherwise. They don't even test
immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But in a lot of places, it's not covered by insurance. And it's minimum like $17,000 to try, and it's not 100% effective. So it's a costly journey to go on. So you really have to be invested.
Can I tell you an IVF story real quick?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got it. This is great information, but I just want to interject with an IVF story. One of my exes, her cousin, did the IVF route, but she didn't have enough money to like pay for the IVF route. So she actually went down to MGM Casino in Detroit, and she went to the quick hits machine at the casino, and she pulled the quick hit jackpot. And then she used that quick hit jackpot to pay for her IVF. And she got 5 kids.
Wow.
The quick hits babies. That's what she would call them.
What?
Yeah, that's no bullshit, dude.
Good for that person. I mean,
for sure.
That if there's a higher power, that's it shining through.
One thing you said about IVF and IUI, though, is they're both extremely costly and they're not covered by insurance.
No. And even routine visits, if they are in relation to infertility, most insurance won't cover it. So you can, like right now, we've had multiple ultrasounds that normally would be covered under insurance, but because they're being administered by a fertility clinic, insurance won't pay for them, even though we're
Such
pregnant.
bullshit.
Yeah. But IUI can be a less costly venture, except for the fact that you may have to do it 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
So it's got a compounding cost. And our situation was we tried with one clinic 6 times. And that's why I had to learn so much, because I'm like, this is, when you're shelling out minimum $1,000, $2,000 a try for this, and you're up to 6 tries, plus all the ancillary doctor's visits, HIV testing, stuff like that.
Great word. You did it.
You realize that you spend almost an IVF try in the less than a year that you really hadn't planned on spending. So we were in this one clinic and 6 tries wasn't working. We were getting an uneasy feeling. Well, Amanda was getting an uneasy feeling. And I was like, we're 6 tries into these people. We got to keep going. By the 7th try, data says it's 45% effective. So they say once you pass 6, you're like 45% chance it's going to work.
Okay.
But she was like, I can't do it at this place again. I feel like they're not, working as hard to get the timing right, because IUI is all about timing. The sperm and the egg have to be at the right spot at the right time. So we went to a new place, took, I think, like a month or 2 off. And the new place was like, we're going to do it twice in one cycle. So 24 hours after the first. And it guarantees that they're in the same spot. And it worked the first time.
It worked the first time.
After 6 tries with this other place. And Amanda had been talking about jumping ship even earlier on. I was more like, let's stay the course. I got to hand it to Amanda. She was right.
You got to figure out what your social media campaign looks like. Okay. Are you doing a soft launch on Facebook? Are you just posting the ultrasound photo on Instagram? Are you doing a TikTok dance with the ultrasound photo? What are you doing? You need to figure out your social media campaign for your pregnancy. What's it look like? What are your KPIs?
This episode's all about the journey. There's so many phases to this. And that's the phase of dad brain. Dad brain really starts when you've reached the level of accepting that you want to start a family. And for me, I went the longest time thinking that it wasn't for me, that it wasn't something I wanted to do. And, marrying my wife, I had to go into it knowing that's something that she's wanted for a long time. And I would have to come to terms with that, or we would have to work it out. I started getting the baby fever, My nephews are awesome. And I all of a sudden decided, it wasn't overnight, but gradually I was like, I need to try this. What do you daydream about doing with Maisie now? Like, what started? Like, because that happens. Like, I'm starting to do that too. Like, looking forward to all this stuff I get to do with a built-in best friend.
Yeah, man. It's going to be awesome. Because every experience that you have or that you enjoy, you get to share with somebody else. And that's so much fun to do, even if it's just a buddy, right? But now this is your forever buddy, right?
Well, what's great about that is children aren't jaded by the annals of time, right? So everything they experience is fantastic and new.
Yeah.
And you get to live that all over again.
So many experiences, but if I was going to top 3 it, Matt, going to Disney World, right? Going on a cruise. And the third one, seeing your kid's first steps, right?
Damn.
That's just good. Who knows?
There you have it, audience.
Yeah.
That's dad brain. I've known this guy for 13, 15 years, I never expected some deep ass shit like that from you.
Really? I'm a deep guy.
Yeah.
No, but it's yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And we're ready, man. I don't have anything to do this summer, so this baby's all of my plans.
Well, that's good.
and the next summer.
and
the summer after that.
more.
And the summer after that. Yeah, just going to be sticking around for a while. But I hope you're going to be sticking around for a while. Make sure if you haven't already, follow us on all social platforms. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Don't forget about Twitter, Matt. How's the Twitter going? Are you posting clips on Twitter, Matt?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Is it even Twitter anymore?
I
don't know.
It is Twitter. It's got Papa
I
Elon's fingerprints.
I got a call to action for our listeners, okay?
I love it.
I got an assignment for you guys.
Okay.
I need some feedback from you. I want to hear about 2 things.
Damn.
Unsolicited dad advice.
Ooh.
So when you found out you're pregnant, all the advice you got from all the other dads.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the good advice either. I want to hear the shit that made you scratch your head.
Yeah.
And I want to know about what baby gear excited you the most.
Baby gear.
Baby gear, because that's a huge thing.
Yeah, Baby Gear is actually my favorite SoundCloud rapper. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Dad Brain. New episodes come out every Sunday. Don't miss any. Subscribe today wherever you listen to podcasts. While you are there, help spread the word about Dad Brain by leaving a rating and review. Can't get enough Dad Brain? Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Dad Brain Pod.